Hello. Hi. Hey. What's up? Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Dateable Podcast. You've heard this intro over and over again, but here we are back again for another episode. And we are always committed to bring you the best dating content where we go deep, 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 deep penetration dating.
Unless you're new, and then in that case, we welcome you. And I love that we're starting with deep penetration dating. So
you know it's going to be a good episode.
Yes, it is going to be a good episode. That's for damn sure.
We're just so excited to bring you new seasons. And at the top of the season, we always have these themes and we talk about some of the patterns that we see. So it's whenever we come back with a new episode, we get really excited. It's like we have this gift and we can deliver it to you, and as you unwrap with your ears, if that sounds really strange, but we
unwrap with your ears.
Yeah, you know what I mean. I do want to, before we get to the intro of the episode, I do want to add an addendum to our conversation from last week where we made these gendered generalizations, and we caveated with that women plan more and men plan less, and it's our own personal take.
2 weeks
ago.
Oh,
2 weeks ago.
Yes.
2 weeks ago. Seemed like last week, and it's been lingering in my mind, and I just want to redeem my partner because I realize, holy shit, we're about to go on this 4-year anniversary vacation for 2 weeks, and it's a surprise, and he planned the entire thing, and I'm very grateful for him putting in all the work. And I don't know why this completely escaped my mind when we were having this conversation because the man literally gave me like an image board or like a image board with all the clues so I know what to pack for what kind of weather. He booked all the hotels, all the flights. Like, come on, okay, give this man a break. Not all men don't plan, because obviously my partner is doing all the planning for this trip.
I do love that you forgot this as in the middle of this because you knew you were going on this trip.
Yes. Yes.
It's one of those things, we've talked about this before, and I don't want to undermine what he's doing at all because I think it's phenomenal. Mm-hmm. But sometimes the grand gesture, like the little things do kind of add up over time too. Like the grand gesture is incredible, but we do kind of like fixate on the day to day, which isn't right by any means. But it's kind of funny that you just like forgot this huge grand gesture and then focused on like the everyday weekend.
I think it's because my partner is so different than anyone I've ever dated. And I almost take it for granted how different he is. The man, when we moved into this apartment in LA, he had an Excel spreadsheet and a timeline of when we should get the furniture, when we should get the, utilities up by. Because he's like a project manager really in his day to day. And so he's always planning. So I have to really give credit where credit's due. I do have a wonderful partner who actually loves to plan, and it drives him crazy that I don't plan as much as he does.
Oh my God.
Because, it's making me complacent because he plans so well and he plans all the time.
I feel like that's a good segue, though, into this episode because, we talk about really just how all of our relationship history builds on each other and, sets us up for that next partner. And sometimes we think of these past people as, roadkill or the people that didn't make it along the way or a waste of time even. And I think it sometimes, brings up some of these stereotypes that we have. And that might not even be present day of what we're doing, but also in the fact that, a lot of times we think that, especially when something ends, like we'll never find it again. But I know from past experience, usually every relationship I've had has gotten more and more serious. Mm-hmm. And I've become more and more myself, and I've become more and more, the partner, being the partner I want to be, and then having the partnership that I want to have. And I look back and I'm like, I'm so glad some of those early relationships didn't work out. And that's not just because they were not the right person, but I wasn't the right person either. So it's really important to remember that, some of our stereotypes or the things that we're scared about because we've been hurt before, like that doesn't mean that's going to be the future, because we're constantly learning from all our relationship experience.
We're just such, I guess we're kind of like babies exploring the world when we're dating people. And in those early stages, you're just like, do I like this? Do I not like this? And it's good to have those subjects, for you to at least have an opinion about. And I'm glad that we're at a place now, at least in this place of Dateable Podcast. Both Julie and I have a pretty strong stance on dating and what we like and what we don't like in a partnership. But I think that took years of our own past relationships and also just talking to other daters and learning from that.
Yeah, in today's episode, we have a comedian, Des Bishop, who
he's so funny.
Was a delight to talk to. And, I didn't know how deep we were going to get. With comedians, you think a lot of times it's going to be light and funny. And there were definitely those moments in it. But we got pretty deep. We got pretty deep into, the relationship we've had with others and also the relationship we have with ourselves, which is clearly a recurring theme on this podcast. And one of the reasons we found him too, I mean, we'd been seeing some of his comedy, but also his now wife was on the Bravo show Summer House.
Oh, yes.
And she also has a podcast that's pretty popular. Hannah Berner is her name. And I never had seen Summer House before the interview with him, but I had heard about it and had friends that watched it.
It's no Fuckboy Island.
It's it's not, but it's pretty funny. It's pretty interesting. It reminds me of Real World, but in 2022 or 20.
Right.
I think it started like a couple years ago. So basically, like they all go to a Hamptons house and get fucked up and hook up with each other. And there's a lot of relationships that have stemmed from it. And I actually watched the episode where Des came to the Summer House.
Oh,
so that was kind of funny to watch it after talking to him.
Well, their relationship started while she was filming Summer House, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of variables at play that could have deterred their relationship, but it didn't because it ended in marriage. But I really like this conversation because we always ask about what are some of the defining moments in your life that inspired you to choose this direction. So that's like a question for all of you listening too. It's like, what are the defining moments in my previous relationships that have directed me to where I am today?
Yeah. And I mean, I think some of you might be saying, well, I'm not on reality TV or I'm not a comedian, but this conversation relates to everyone. And it lets us reflect back on our relationship history in those pivotal moments, like you were just saying, Yue. And I think even talking to Des, there were moments that maybe he wouldn't have equated to be so essential in meeting his now wife. But looking back and looking at like how, we talked a lot about the pandemic and just slowing down in life. And we've all had those moments of reflection to get clear on what matters. And that stuff has been time in, time out, one of the pivotal moments that sets someone up to meet their person.
I just feel every day I thank all of my partner's exes for setting him up for me.
Yes.
Thank you, women, for doing the things to get him ready for me. And I hope he feels the same way about my exes. It's not that it's not that it was a time wasted. It was perfect timing, actually, for those relationships to happen so that we can meet and be right for each other.
Yeah, there was probably some girl that called him out for not planning enough, and now he's
Right?
making Excel spreadsheets.
Precisely. That is exactly what happened. And so now that's an area he works on, and I freaking love it.
And you are reaping the benefits. I love it.
Yes, I am.
One of the things that we talk about too in this episode, and I feel like Yue, this is maybe one of your favorite terms. When I think of you, this term I think of, because you always say it, of doing life together. And I remember before I was in a serious relationship, I don't think I really understood the extent of it.
Yeah.
Like, I think I didn't realize the difference between dating someone and doing life with someone. And, we talk about it in this episode that a key time that they met was over the pandemic. And that's actually similar to your story, too. You were dating before the pandemic, but the pandemic changed the dynamics of your relationship. That you weren't just dating anymore, but actually doing the stuff that, I don't want to say like domestic tasks, but all the stuff that doing life means.
Yeah.
And I think when you're not in it, you think it's just that, like the cooking and cleaning. But for me now, I feel like some of the best moments I have are just like sitting on the couch watching reality TV or some sort of
Island.
Summer House or whatever. No, you know what I mean though? Like just doing nothing with my partner, but that is the majority of life, is doing nothing. It's hilarious to me that dating is so judged on the types of dates that we do and the activities. Not saying that you shouldn't keep doing that. Absolutely. There's a reason why married couples with children have date nights. That doesn't go away. But as things progress, usually like 80% of the time, you're not doing that stuff. So why wouldn't you want to find someone that you enjoy doing the 80% of nothing together?
Yeah, your relationship is based on the daily moments and not based on the peaks and valleys.
Yeah.
Right? If we only base relationships on peaks and valleys, that is a very toxic, tumultuous relationship, and you want to get the fuck out. And it's these everyday moments that I just feel so grateful for. In my journal every day, I change my journal prompts like every quarter, but my current one is I have my agenda for the day and then I have a reward at the end. And I realize that more often than not, my reward is watching TV with my partner or having a nice meal with my partner. It's like something so mundane, yet so enjoyable. And I feel like I earn it at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think the other part of relationships we don't talk about enough is just having the fact that it's just fun. It's like almost, I describe it that I have a sleepover with my best friend every night.
Oh.
And, we don't think about that, though. It feels like this tumultuous achievement that we need to get, but it's just the day-to-day simple pleasures. And when you're with the right person, I think this also is kind of a throwback to this building on relationships. I think in the past, it was always so hard, it felt. And it took me building on those relationships and getting clear with my own needs too, and not being afraid to say them. I would say that's the one thing I did different this relationship. There was no holding back at all, but that was because I learned, right? And from the old stuff. But I think the fact of getting to a place where you can meet this person that it doesn't feel so difficult and you're just genuinely enjoying the life you're building together, that to me is what a relationship really means.
So for all of our single listeners, before you say, shut the fuck up, I'm trying to do that. Why are you guys talking about relationships? I think this is a good learning, though, because we always hear many of you are looking for that initial chemistry spark, butterflies in stomach. But then ultimately, you all say, I want to skip the beginning part and just get to the relationship part already. I want to get to the, on the couch, Sunday night, cooking, watching TV, eating our dinner. So instead of looking for that initial, adrenaline and dopamine hit, maybe it's a dating for these life moments and stop focusing so much on that chemistry and the spark and focus on, is this someone I can just do life with?
Yeah. And I think I don't want to ever, discourage people for coming up with really cool date ideas. And I think it's freaking amazing that your partner is planning this surprise vacation. So I don't want to ever say that shouldn't be part of dating. It absolutely should. And that's what, for the two of you, 4 years in, you're still doing stuff like that. So it still has a time and a place. But we do see a lot of people getting really hung up in the early stages of planning the perfect dates and coming up with the activities. And that can be a thought process, but I don't think it should be like the number one concern you have at the beginning. The beginning is all about connecting and just making someone feel like you've known them all your life, essentially, and feeling calm around them, feeling good about yourself around them. In theory, the best dates don't have to be anything spectacular if that's there.
Oh, so true. So true. So we can't wait to get into this conversation with Des.
Yeah, but speaking of good date activities, before we close this out, I am going tonight to The Empire Strips Back.
Oh,
which
finally.
is the Star Wars burlesque parody. So you all heard me right. The Empire Strips Back.
Yes.
I was definitely, like, at the beginning when I first heard about it, skeptical, but the more people we talked to of how amazing it is, so it feels like a good thing to note on Dateable. We've got burlesque show and Star Wars. What could go wrong?
Find a partner who will go do a burlesque Star Wars show with you.
Before we get into it with Des, let's do a few announcements. At Dateable Podcast is our Instagram. You know, share this episode with a friend. I feel like we can all open the conversation of reflecting back on our relationship histories. Heck, go to brunch and chat it out with them.
Heck.
And, well...
Heck. Continue.
Go to brunch with them and chat it out. And while we're at it, tune in every Sunday, our brunch talk episodes.